Yang.
Good evening, President Jones, members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. My name is Charles Yang, and I'm a born and raised Richmonder. I've lived here practically my whole life. The product of public school education, I consider Richmond to be my home in the fullest sense of the word. But like for many other Richmonders, home suddenly became a lot more expensive for me in the past couple years. Now, many would blame rising home prices on outsiders moving here, but I'm personally glad that other people have come to Richmond and discovered all the things that make this city beautiful. And I reject the principle of exclusion and seeking to discern who deserves to live in the city. Instead, I believe that we should welcome new neighbors and new communities to Richmond, and that the problem lies not with people, but in the artificial restriction of what kinds of housing we build. That's why 4 months ago I decided to start RVA YIMBY. We're a group that exists to advocate for housing developments and zoning reform. You've already met many members of our group. 6 out of the 8 of the speakers that spoke in favor of abolishing parking minimums were members of our group. And we look forward to working with council and supporting housing in this city, including the upcoming ADU by right proposal. Thank you for all the work that you all do for the city, and I look forward to working with you all in the coming months.
The next speaker is Stacy Van Cherry.
Hi there. Good evening. I'm here to talk about the new and proposed changes regarding short-term rentals. Since the original ordinance passed in 2020, there have been 164 applications out of 1,000 currently running short-term rentals. There have only been 63 permits issued for 1,000 short-term rentals. 900 are operating illegally. This month, the city passed very quickly an ordinance requiring operators to remit tax to the city. Operators want to remit tax to the city, but in its current form, the city is expecting $3.25 million a year by your estimates from illegal operators. The reason behind the original ordinance was to make STRs safe and not a burden on neighborhoods. But most STR operators are not going to apply for permits with the current owner occupancy requirement. Until that's addressed, you're going to have 900 illegal operators. July 1, the city starts to collect tax from illegal operators while simultaneously threatening them with $500 a month in fines. So does the city want the $3.2 million a year in taxes, or would they like us to shut down most of the STR operators? I don't see how we can do both. I'd like to request a public forum to further request information. Thank you.
The last speaker for this evening is Michelle Blunt. Ms. Blunt, if you would unmute your device.
My name is Michelle Brown. Good evening, councilman. And I'm having really a bad problem here. And me and my husband have been homeless and displaced for at least 5 months. And we are upstanding citizens. And I really feel that we should have more than we have been acceptable to. And I really appreciate Ms. Wilmore and Mr. Tavares for helping us as much as they can. We have been sleeping in our cars for 5 months, and I really feel that we are supposed to have more than we have been given, and no one has ever took the time, and we are doing the resources, and I'd like to see more happen for me and my husband. And thank you very much.
And Mr. President, that concludes the list of citizen comment period speakers for this evening.
Yes, I believe Ms. Trammell asked, she had a statement. No? Okay, great. All right, moving forward. Ms. Clerk, let's move on to review any amendment to tonight's agenda.
Mr. President, the amendments to tonight's agenda are as follows.
And I'm going to stop you real quick. Some people buzzed in that I did not see. I apologize. Ms. Jordan.
Thank you, President Jones, and I just want to thank those who spoke tonight. And if it's possible, I know short-term rentals, that's something that the city has been tracking, and obviously it's an issue of national interest. I think it would be appropriate and welcome if we could get an update from the Director of Planning on what that public outreach has been and what we have to look forward to as we get to a new ordinance, because clearly the ordinance we have is not working currently. So could administration come up and just give us a quick recap?
If they're ready, if not, we'll find another form by which they can do it. Mr. Vaughn?
Thank you, council members. Kevin J. Fong, Director of Planning Development Review. As far as outreach on short-term rentals, that was included in part of our 3 zoning changes outreach that we conducted last fall, where we talked about parking requirements, accessory dwelling units, and short-term rentals. We did a number of public engagement sessions, both in person and virtual at the library. We hosted a number of focus groups, and then we had a second round of public meetings in December of last year. We used all that information in crafting our proposed legislations. We dealt with parking minimums. You will actually have a paper later today for accessory dwelling units. And right now, the short-term rental paper is being vetted by our city attorney's office. And we look forward to having that ready for introduction hopefully soon. And at that time, would engage in another additional outreach as directed.
Dr. Newbill?
Thank you, President Jones, and thank you, Mr. Vonk. Mr. Vonk, I'd just like to ask if you would send to all council members the document that delineates the outreach that's been done over the period of time you've described, as well as the responses to the questions that I think Ms. Joy Hogg provided, just so that everybody has that at the top of the email, but just the sheer volume in terms of outreach, I think is important for the body to have that information. So if you could send that again.
Sure, I would be happy to do that.
Thank you. President Jones, what I was going to also, I didn't have anything else relative to that item. I just wanted to make sure that we had a speaker, Ms. Michelle Blunt, that our staff would follow up with her. She indicated they've been sleeping in a vehicle, and so I'm sure that we have a number or some way to reach that person, and so if staff could follow up with her, would appreciate that.
Thank you for catching that, Dr. Newbill. And I see several in the administration shaking their heads, so thank you very much. Mr. Clerk, let's move on to review any amendments to this evening's agenda.
Yes, Mr. President. The amendments to tonight's agenda are as follows. Item 1, ordinance 2023-090 will be continued to the Monday, July 24th council meeting. Item 2, ordinance 2023-108 will be continued to the Monday, July 24th council meeting. Item 4, ordinance 2023-130 will be amended later this evening and then continued to the Monday, July 24th council meeting. Item 6, ordinance 2023-152 will be continued to the Monday, July 24th meeting. And lastly, item 21, resolution 2023-R029 will be continued to the Monday, July 24th council meeting. Mr. President, those are all the items, the proposed agenda amendments this evening.
Does any member of council have any additional amendments to this evening's agenda? Is there a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
So moved, President Jones.
Second.
Council is voting on this evening's agenda amendments as presented. Ms. Jordan?
Aye.
Ms. Lambert?
Aye.
Ms. Trammell?
Aye.
Ms. Newbill?
Aye.
Vice President Nye?
Aye.
And President Jones.
Aye.
The amended agenda is before you, and the consent agenda consists of the following items. Item 3, ordinance 2023-121. Item 5, ordinance 2023-145. Item 7, ordinance 2023-157. Item 8, ordinance 2023-174. Item 9, ordinance 2023-175. Item 10, ordinance 2023-176. Item 11, ordinance 2023-177. Item 12, ordinance 2023-178. Item 13, ordinance 2023-179. Item 14, ordinance 2023-180. Item 15, ordinance 2023-182. Item 16, ordinance 2023-183. Item 17, ordinance 2023-184. Item 18, ordinance 2023-185. Item 19, ordinance 2023-186. Item 20, ordinance 2023-187. And lastly, item 22, resolution 2023-R030. Mr. President, those are all the items on tonight's consent agenda.
We'll now have a public hearing on the consent agenda items. Are there persons here this evening who wish to speak in opposition of any of the items on the consent agenda would ask that you would line up in a single file line in the aisle. All persons who wish to speak in opposition of any item or items on the consent agenda, all those that are here to speak in opposition would ask that you would line up in the center aisle. Again, just as a reminder, public hearing shall be limited to a minute. Good evening, sir.
Mr. President, I'd like to speak in opposition to item 7, the SUP for Avery Hall for a 17-story building. I'm Jack Pearsall. I live at 513 West 7th Street in Manchester. The two hot areas in the city right now that are drawing residents and businesses, Scott's Addition and Manchester. Manchester has the added advantage.
30 seconds.
Has the added advantage that has the best view in the city of Richmond. Manchester is a hill, and as you go up the hill, you've got the view all the way up to Gordon Avenue. What is being done with this SUP is to deliberately void the requirements of the RF2 zoning. This is already zoned RF2, but RF2 requires a view break every 300 feet, 50 feet wide at the ground up to 4th story.
Thank you, Mr. Pearsall. That's your time.
Big pardon?
That is your time.
That was not 3 minutes
It's 1 minute per speaker.
because it's the consent agenda.
No, sir, I
Excuse
announced
me.
that, I announced that at the beginning of the meeting, that public hearing and a public comment would be limited to a minute in light of concerns as related to the impending storm. We want to ensure that all staff has the opportunity to close out their duties and make their way home. And so that we appreciate everyone's understanding in that.
I simply urge you to put it on the regular agenda and to disallow the West Tower.
Sir, thank you. I appreciate your advocacy, indeed.
Good evening. My name is Omar El Gaddafi. I came to speak against item number 14. My concern is that there seems to be a lack of coordination and accountability across the city when it comes to addressing the greatest needs in terms of housing affordability in the city. The issue with this ordinance in particular is it's not really clear exactly what the recipients of these funding are being required to do. I noticed in the first tranche of American Rescue Plan Act funding, there were developers on there who I recognize from, being on evictor lists and high evictors, and there were developers that I'm aware of that in the city have been raising their rents like $300 or $400, but then we're giving them millions of dollars and claiming that it's preserving affordable housing. And so it's not really clear. I requested the applications that were submitted by the 12 projects from the city administration. They have refused to send me to them. I requested them over a month ago.
Thank
so what
you.
I'm asking you, Mr. Chair, is could you present a resolution to cause the city to bring forward those housing applications for funding that were supported by the American
Sir, you're
Rescue.
past time.
Thank you. That's your time.
Are there individuals who have signed up by your rules and regulations, Madam Clerk, to speak at this point in time virtually?
To speak in opposition, no, Mr. President.
Seeing no others, we'll now move to those who wish to speak in favor of anything that is on this evening's consent agenda. We would ask that you would make your way to the center aisle If this gentleman comes down with the baby, he shall go first. No, seriously, come on down. We want to respect the fact. Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. And that's if you choose to take that opportunity, but I just want to respect the fact. Yeah, way to bring the baby.
Well, good evening. My wife Meredith and I are here to speak in support of Ordinance 2023-174. When we first learned Meredith was pregnant with our daughter Maddie, we started looking for childcare, and we added her name to many childcare waiting lists. And 2 years later, she's still on those lists. There's a real lack of childcare in the city, and that's why your support of this ordinance can make such a meaningful difference to families in our neighborhoods. When we first toured the cottage school and met these younger, wonderful women, we were so excited to join their family.
30 seconds.
And we share their vision of bringing our community together around caring for children. So we hope we can have the opportunity to do that today with your support. Thank you.
Sir, can you please state your name for the record?
Yeah, my name is James Weber.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Walters, and I'm here to support ordinance number 2023-174, the cottage school that's in Ginner Park, Northside. I know I have a short amount of time. I will just say I want to echo what Mr. Weber just shared with the crisis in childcare. I would also like to say that from birth to age 5, 90% of a child's brain is developed. This is a critical time for young children and families to be supported in our community, and it's a must. I would also like to share from an employee standpoint, there has been 12% of teachers leaving the workforce that has not been regained in child care centers in the city of Richmond. And we have gotten to the point that that is really impacting the care and welfare for quality care, not just care, but quality care of young children. 76% of employers in the city of Richmond said that child care availability affects recruitment and retention for their employees. Availability is really hard to
Thank
find.
you.
And
That's your
affordability. 78% of missed work time, 51% of reduced.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Moon, and I am here in support of Ordinance 2023-174. I want to share with you that we identified the need for a child care center, a critical need for child care in Northside at 3601 Seminary Avenue and the Ginner Park Presbyterian Church. There was a child care center some years ago that did not prevail, but we now are able to offer a 501c3 charitable center to the children and families in that location. And we're very excited about that. We hope to meet the needs not only of the children and families, but also of the Richmond community, because it will allow the families to return to the workforce. Thank you so much.
Mr. President, members of council, good evening. My name is Preston Lloyd. I'm an attorney at Wayne Small and appearing on behalf of the applicant in item number 7 on the agenda, Avery Hall. As you've heard, there are, as you will hear, there are a number of members of the community who we've been pleased to work with over the course of the last year to take a project that goes beyond what's allowed by right and instead improve it so that it responds to some of the needs of the community. And we also express our gratefulness to Councilwoman Robertson for helping to lead those negotiations and conversations. And so we've made several commitments which are incorporated in the SUP ordinance that you have, as well as other community benefit commitments that we've made to the Manchester Alliance, which I'll let them speak to specifically. But should council have other concerns or questions about the application, we'd be delighted to answer those at your pleasure. Thank you again for your consideration.
Hi, I'm Glenda Kochish. I'm the president of Manchester Alliance, and I'm here to talk about number 7, ordinance 2023-157. Avery Hall's is the applicant. Manchester Alliance worked with Avery Hall over the course of a year and had some stipulations and concerns about the project, and all of our concerns were met. They changed their design. They expense to extreme expense. And we are now getting green space that we wanted, pet and park, and many other advantages for the entire community and for the city. And the Manchester Alliance Board supported this SUP.
Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Andrew Bryant. I'm here to speak in favor of Ordinance 2023-157. The addition of hundreds of housing units, over 500 units of housing, will be a very welcome addition to the city for keeping Richmond in accessible place for all residents,
30 seconds.
And promoting the housing abundance that myself and other Richmonders want to see, which will help alleviate the housing crisis that we're all currently feeling.
City Council, Councilman Jones, thank you for letting me speak this evening. I speak in support of Ordinance 2023-157. My name is Will Wilson. I live in Jackson Ward of the 2nd District. On top of the obvious benefits that Andrew just talked about, the 550 units, this proposal is important because it represents for the developer their first experience with real estate development in our metro region. I highlight this for 3 reasons that bear on our business environment. 1, dynamism. Having another development team in our market sets up the conditions for increased competition in real estate and the benefits of choice to the consumer. Resiliency. A developer with a positive experience and return on building in our jurisdiction will continue to build here. We win another entity with the connections and capacity to navigate the planning and process of building. Thus, we get more than just a project, we could end up with the project pipeline. And 3rd, reputation. The developer, in this case Avery Hall, but increasingly from different places, introduces to their home development community their experience getting permission to build here. In that referenceability, we want them to tout things like timeliness, transparency, and accommodating of increased density. Thank you.
William Andrews, resident of the 8th District. Wanted to thank Reba Trammell for patronizing the ordinance towards giving a bonus for retirees. I'm a retiree.
Thank you.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Doug Pick. I'm for 10 years now the CEO of Feedmore. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. I'm speaking in regards to item number 2023-179 in favor of the appropriation put forward for Feedmore and our move, unfortunately, to Henrico County. We tried like heck to stay in the city, but couldn't find the right property. The good news is you'll get between 300 and 400 units of revenue coming there. But we sure would appreciate your assistance in this. Feedmore, just to kind of put it in perspective, last year provided 7 million.
30 seconds.
Yep, 791,000 pounds of food to the city, 80 partner agencies in the city. All of this will stay, all of this will continue. 21,000 backpacks, summer food service, 16 sites, 37,000 meals. Mobile pantries, 15 sites, 537,000 meals. Senior commodity boxes at 21 sites. Meals on Wheels, 100,000 meals to the seniors of the city. If the city had paid for this and operated this, it would have been a $15 million cost. So we sure would appreciate the additional appropriations for our new facility. We've been out of space, unfortunately, for 3 years, and we've had no choice but to do this.
Thank you.
I'm going back 5 years and thank Ms. Trammell for fixing our road that 1 year. It's made a huge difference to our trucks.
Thank you. That's your time.
Mr. Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak virtual?
Yes, Mr. President, we had 4 individuals sign up to speak in support virtually by today's 10 a.m. deadline. And the first speaker is Kelly Martin. You may proceed with, proceed with your comments. Kelly Martin, you can unmute and proceed with your comments. Mr. President, if you would like, I can call back to him and proceed to the next speaker.
Please move forward. Thank
next speaker is Nevi Gurma.
Hi, my name is